SoundCloud. All right, it's recording. My name's Alan Bentrup. I'm in the Diocesan House of Upper South Carolina. Most of you I recognize. Some of you are joining from other places, which is awesome. Jimmy Hartley and Caitlin Kinney, also on diocesan staff. They're going to facilitate this eventually, but I'm going to do the quick and dirty welcome to Zoom. For some of us, it might be the first time we're learning Zoom. So you're all muted, which is awesome. That was the number one thing. When you want to speak, unmute, wave your hand, get attention. I'll be sharing my screen in a little bit to show the resources we've already compiled. But I'm also, as y'all share resources or talk about things, I'm also editing our website to update that in real time. Just so that none of us are recreating the wheel, so we have a central place that we can go for formation. And we'll try to keep this time limited to formation. We can talk about other stuff at other times. So, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, hey, good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Jimmy Hartley. If we haven't met, I am also in the Diocesan House, the bishop's staff. Thank you for being here. I look forward to see what all is happening in the life of your churches or our diocese, and with an effort of being able to build up a usable resource for the church, not just for our list. I should also say I'm at home with three kids now, and one of which is tapping me on the shoulder. So bear with me as we go along. So just kind of the life of what we're doing right now. Why don't we open with prayer, and then we'll kind of get into the resources that we have right now, and then open it to the floor to folks that may be doing something a little bit different or developing something on their own. And like Alan said, we'll be updating our website in real time, so folks don't necessarily need to take notes, but can kind of be a part of the conversation and then reference our website later. If you need to know, our website is www.edusc.org. Alan will guide us to through that in a minute after we pray. So the Lord be with you. Lord God, we thank you for this day. We pray that in the challenges that we have ahead, that we may ever be focused on deepening our discipleship in your Son. Help us to, as leaders in the church, as formation leaders in this church, to be able to be creative and use all that's at hand for us to be able to connect our folks with each other and with God. We thank you for this group gathered here, for the wisdom and experience that they will ultimately share with the church. We ask this in your Son's name. Amen. All right, Alan. So our first is Alan's going to show you what all we have on the website right now. If you'll excuse me 1 second while he's sending you through. There seems to be the end of the world scenario in the living room. So hold on 1 second. Alan, do you mind taking over?
That's fine. Jimmy's kids are the best part of all of these webinars, just so you know. So if you go to edusc.org, first off, you'll get a pop-up that says worship has been postponed, public worship's been postponed. You can click through that. And then the main thing is this gathering in new ways. This is our hub where we're gathering resources. And so we'll click through that. And then it'll take us here. And then what we're worried about here is the formation resources. You can see this ongoing webinars is where these recordings will live eventually, technology and resources here. So we'll go into formation. This is our regular formation resources page, which has all of the wonderful things that it's always had. There's some organizations and top level things here. And then as you go down, there's suggestions for children, youth, and adults there. And then we don't need to walk through all these. And then for COVID-19, there's several organizations and congregations that are producing things on the fly for COVID-19. And so they're going to live on this page for now. We'll worry about where they live long-term later. Trinity Cathedral is our cathedral in Columbia for people that aren't in this diocese. They are Bibbs, the children's minister there, is doing weekly lessons, and she's asked us to share those for people that aren't able to provide that level of thing. Addie's there and could speak to that later, maybe about what they're doing. And so you can scroll through there, and they've got the lessons for each week there. Whoops. Illustrated Children's Ministries, these are the coloring sheets and things like that. They are each week sending out packets with lessons and coloring sheets based on the based on the week of Lent. So you can go there and see that packet, and we'll update that each week with that information. Church Publishing has made a variety of resources. We can go through there. You probably saw that. They posted that on Facebook. And I updated this with Church Next. Let's see if it's, yeah, there it is. So Church Next is also offering some of their things for free during the pandemic. And so that link will take you to their free course and then other offerings there. And so as you all provide things on your websites or have other ways, please let us know, let Caitlin, Jimmy, or myself know. We'll update this page with things parishes are doing, but also special things that publishers and other kind of parachurch organizations are doing. And just using this as kind of a clearinghouse. The goal is so that we don't all have to reinvent the wheel each week, but that we can share resources and provide technology where some congregations may have the means and where other congregations could use some support. So that's the rundown of what's on the website. You go to our homepage, click on the thing there, and you can click through and find that. Are there any questions about that before I stop sharing the browser? All right.
Great. Knowing what we have on the website, what are some of the things that that y'all have considered or dreamt of in your own parish context? This is a time for either kind of workshopping some thoughts, but also data gathering and resource gathering. So anybody that has something they'd like to share, now's the time. Maggie?
I just sent out a hefty email yesterday. I'm sad this will be the heftiest email I sent out during this, but it had all kinds of resources, and I also challenged them, and we've talked about this some, to sort of reevaluate their Lenten disciplines. I mentioned the daily examine and doing that as a family, learning that during this time. I sent out a couple of apps. There's a daily prayer app that's very cool. I have offered to go through with the youth, or just have suggested Traveling the Way of Love with all the videos already put together. And there was one other, there were a ton of others, but one other that I thought was especially, the Way of Love podcast. I think it's a good and sort of calm, simple resource. So.
Thanks. Mary Balfour. You need to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So we're doing Complan Facebook Live. It's been amazing to look at the number of people that are looking at that. But one thing that I did today was I just put a simple thing on Facebook that said, "What are you grateful for?" and comment below, just to get some conversation going where it's not me, but it's letting them feel part of it. Because with the Facebook Live, they can't respond. They can't. There's no conversation in that. And then I talked about this a little bit on Monday, but we've moved forward in it. We're putting a banner out in front of our church, just to let people know that we're here for those that can't do anything technology wise. So, just think about that as well. As much as we want people we have older people that just can't get online. And so we need them to know we're here too.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Tina.
So one thing I know it's weird because it shows up as Christina. So one of the things we're doing at St. James is started like a companion program. So letting some of our older folks who are now kind of homebounding themselves, letting them be able to apply to if they need a companion, and then for some younger healthy folks who are not showing symptoms to sign up to be able to help with going to the pharmacy or doing a grocery run, and then kind of working with those people on also then like making sure they're being intentional about sanitizing everything when they deliver, or practicing that kind of extra level of hygiene and still keeping like good social distance with that process as well. And I think I'm hopeful it'll create some space for some really cool like intergenerational ministry as well.
Is there things that you can offer as sort of prompts for them to be able to deliver groceries and some Bible study cards, or what can kind of go along with that, you think?
It's a great question. We talk about like ministry of presence a good bit, and so a lot of what we were hoping to have happen is open up some doors just for conversation in general, being able to because if you're used to being out in public and talking with people and you live by yourself, then you're not talking with people, and so I think there'd be a place to add some like prayers or like maybe good questions to ask if you have a young person who's not as familiar with like talking to someone that's older than them, giving them some prompts to talk through some of those things. And maybe I like the idea of faith questions on a card to add into that, but I'd invite other ideas as well.
Yeah, maybe it's just some ways of people and directions and instructions on ways people can get connected for worship, for online Bible studies, things like that. I don't know what all else might come of that, but it's worth thinking.
So we usually have Bible studies for like all of our age groups every week, and we are trying to continue those as much as possible, but we've been using Zoom. We did our first one yesterday, and it went over really well. There's a learning curve of technology with like anything that you're gonna do, because like we use Zoom obviously all the time, but like middle schoolers don't. But they really liked it. I think we actually had some people that we don't normally have in our weekly Bible studies too. So even if you don't have like a Bible study program, if you wanted to just say like, hey, middle schoolers, here's a link, join us. We did like lunch bunch. So like at noon, told them to get their lunches and just like get on Zoom with us. And it was just like, I did a short devotional, and then we just they ended up staying on there and talking for like an hour, which is really cool. And they were excited to have a chance to talk to each other. So even if you don't necessarily already have an existing group, I put it in the group me of the group that meets normally, but I would say just like offer that space. And even like we have a high school girls Bible study that's meeting at noon today. And I've had some girls message me who don't normally come, because this is at noon and they're going to be awake this time, they're going to join us. So I would really, really recommend it. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. We just did like the gospel for this Sunday. And I think they just enjoy being able to talk to each other, and, you know, checked in with them, got to kind of do a welfare check-in for all of them. So would recommend.
Thanks, Addie. I particularly, having that, just kind of that flex space around it, seems like a really, really great idea. Not just being like, okay, it's over, see you in meeting, you know. That's a good idea. Who else? For those that just came on, what we're discussing is sort of what we're, you know, we've gone through the resources that we have online, and we're sort of collating and talking about sort of current conversation, or current ways of moving formation along with that. Has anybody tried to do like a godly play online? How's that? Has that been attempted? Another thing that I thought of was you said, Maggie, that y'all are trying the way of love on through some stuff. What do you exactly, like, how are you sort of working that out?
Well, so I sent it out in this email that Lauren probably hopefully got. And it was, I sent out all the video resources and the podcast, and said, this is something great for you to go through, especially the videos lend themselves to conversation or journal prompts. They're meant more for a group, but you can individualize them. And then I said to the youth, because one of my things here is that I'm trying not to add just noise and clutter. I don't want to say, like, let's do this Bible study if nobody really wants a Bible study. Right now, if they're too busy studying at home with other things, and that's going to feel like another weird coronavirus interruption. But I did say, if you want something group led, I'm happy to go through the way of love with y'all. Or I also offered Enneagram, with not using those words, but that was what I was talking about. But I was thinking that, because this is looking like it's going to be a drawn out thing, I could send out with those way of love resources a weekly, like, here's the little questionnaire. If you want to chat about this, we'll hop on Zoom on Thursday. I sent this out Sunday. At Rooted in Jesus, we talked a lot about the flipped classroom, and I think that that's going to be really important here, of learn all this on your own, and then we'll talk about it together, because I think that people are going to get really sick really quick of being taught virtually. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. What else? Addie, go ahead.
Well, I
was about to ask you a question.
Well, I have a question. In general, we are trying to figure out things for our confirmation class, because, I mean, we're using the, like, My Faith, My Life book, and, like, we can keep on doing that, and, like, it'll be fine. But I didn't know if you guys were, like, thinking of anything innovative for confirmation class. The only thing that we've come up with, which, like, use it or don't use it, whatever, was, like, because churches have been streaming services online, like, I know, like, Trinity's, like, we have a camera pretty close up front to church now, so people can watch it from home. So we're going to give them that, like, worship worksheet thing that's in the back of that book, where it's like you have to write down the gospel and write down what the prayer they used was and stuff like that. So it's almost like Instructed Eucharist Part 2, where they just get a really close-up view of it. But I would love to hear if you guys have thought of things that you're going to do with your confirmation class, or if you're just kind of, like, putting a pause or just doing regular, I don't know. Just, I would love to start that conversation.
I see it.
We used, I used Google Classroom with my confirmation class last year. And what I tried to do is give them some assignments, like when we were talking about baptism, I was like, go find a movie clip that you think represents an idea of baptism or transformation or metamorph, something along those lines, and had them put up what they found and what they liked, and then sort of comment on it in that sense. I mean, that's a lot of my approach too. I like what Maggie said about like everybody's going to get a little bit sick about sort of the instruction kind of thing, is to get them to bring in the content, but give them the direction for it, which y'all may have said and I may have missed. But so that was one thing.
We are doing that, Addie and I are, for our Ecuador meeting. So we've only had one, and now we're going to not have at least one or two. But I think it is more engaging when we gave a list of questions and kind of themes. This is what I want to know. Ask your friends what they want to know about the sacraments, about whatever prayer, whatever chapter you're on. And I think that that's effective. And then just have your own notes in the background for anything that gets missed.
A couple things. One, the idea of the instructed Eucharist. I'm going to share my screen here again for a moment. The how-to Eucharist, if you haven't seen that, that's an opportunity. None of y'all are probably old enough to remember pop-up videos on VH1, but it's a similar model to where it goes through professionally recorded, and it pulls out things about. So in addition to having folks watch worship, if you're for the confirmation piece around the Eucharist, that's a good resource. Another thing I saw last night in regards to my family is this thing called Netflix Party. And the idea of using this with a youth group, I hadn't really thought of till right now. But this is a plugin you can get for Chrome, I think for other things, to where a group of people can watch Netflix together through their browser, assuming they all have Netflix. But there's ways to pause it for everyone. There's a group chat on the side. And so if there were a series or something on Netflix, that's just a way to build community in my mind. And then also have some discussion about faith elements of a movie or a show. So those are two other resources. I will stop sharing now and mute myself.
Along with that, another resource that I don't think we have on our website is Vibrant Faith and Vibrant Faith at Home. They at least in the past have had some good stuff in regards to family exercises, table prayer, blessings, things like that. I haven't looked at it recently, but it just popped in my mind. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Anything that y'all are currently doing or thinking about doing? This is a good time to sort of workshop an idea or something.
One thing, one thing that Lillian kind of dreamed up when we started implementing last night was we made this like Google form, and we're having people submit like prayer requests. So I'm sure a lot of people that have EYC, like at the end or beginning, will take like prayer requests from the group. And so we decided we wanted to keep doing that in the midst of this. And so we're asking people to submit them, and they can either indicate if they want it like anonymous or they want prayers like from the large group. And then we're going to post them like on our Instagram. So still keeping the idea of like, you can ask for prayers.
Nicholas?
I was late. If we already talked about Church Next, I wondered if anybody had used those courses. You can buy a church subscription, like a parish subscription, for a couple $100 a month, and it's part of Forward Movement online courses. Has anybody used those?
We have that that link on our website. So if y'all are interested in kind of peeking through and seeing what's useful for y'all, you can find it at edusc.org. I've not gone through them myself with a group, but I would be interested to hear how people have used things like Church Next. Mary Balfour.
We're doing, well, we were doing the Mr. Rogers one that Westina Matthews has on Church Next, and it was going really, really, really well, you know, because of course we were just showing it off our computer in the parish hall. But I find them to be really well done, and there are so many different ones you can choose from. I actually think there is one on confirmation, but there's one about the prayer book. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. I did one last year about Bishop Curry's sermon he did at the royal wedding that is on Church Next. If we're stuck like this for a while, this is absolutely where I would tell you to go. And they're just really, really well done.
That guy in the top left looks menacing.
Yeah, he looks like he's dangerous. Watch out for him.
There's another resource that's 10 or 20 bucks a month, The Work of the People. It's a documentary videographer who does film series. Let me find, well, it says choose your plan. Y'all can go through here and look, but they have, okay, browse all. There's what I was looking for. They have authors and other folks that come in and do series on any variety of things. It's a video resource that once you have a license, you can share those with people in your congregation. And kind of the same vein as Church Next, it's not as fully developed as an online learning platform as Church Next. It's more just delivery of the videos with some PDF study guides, but it's in the same vein.
I really, really like The Work of the People. Their videos they're like very well, I did some Church Next, but their videos are very well done. I've heard the work.
Yeah. I mean, Church Next, the pedagogy is great. It's a lot of webcam videos. Work of the People is a legit documentary videographer. He's also from Houston, Texas, and I know him and he's awesome.
I don't know if I'm muted or not, but Mockingbird has the Storymakers stuff is free right now too. I don't know if you know about that, but storymakersnyc.com, and that's a Christian ed going through the lectionary lesson. Do you want to add that to your link stuff, Alan? I think it's free Lent and Easter. Maybe they've made it free.
Janie.
I don't know if anybody's using Preparing for Sunday. I'm moving back low tech from some of these other things you all are talking about. It's incredibly inexpensive. It's like $1 a week, and people can link on your website and go, and they've changed it. Now you can look back a week and forward a week and the week you're on. And it's just a really easy little commentary about the lessons as they are together in the lectionary, and then each one, and then kind of a reflection part. Even with low-tech folks, that might be an easy thing to either print out and mail to someone and then have a phone conversation about. I'm really worried about the handful of folks, and we don't have as many as we used to, but we have some that are just completely isolated, and partner relationships with people who are online that's helping with that. But anyway.
Well, what's the name of that resource, Janie?
Preparing for Sunday, and people can only get to it from the website, but it's like $59 a year. And so you can just, it's on our link under Celebrate Christ, I think, on our website. So, and you just buy the subscription, and then they change it for you. I mean, the link is there. So
what's your website?
It's ecus.org/WP. ECOOS, Episcopal Church of Our Savior.
Did you say that y'all are doing something with having online partners?
Well, no, not online. This is more for the people that, and I just found this out yesterday because I've been worrying about these folks. The people that are not online now have telephone partners that are keeping up with them. This email came out today. I want you to hear about it. And so they'll just call them up and tell them about it. And that's helpful too, because those folks they certainly aren't going to go online at a time when they're stressed, I don't think.
Right. But that does, the telephone partners is a great idea. I wonder too, about having sort of going off of what Tina was talking about with younger folks working with older folks. It'd be interesting to see if there were, if there were some relationship building around like teaching technology in a time of crisis with younger folks. I don't know. Just something you said just kind of buzzed that. What else? It's 10:30. We have about 10 or 15 more minutes before we need to bounce off. Yeah.
I was curious about, so one of the things that I'm worried about with my group is that they're not so interested in a lot of the more traditional formational pieces, Complan, Bible study, but they sure want to find some diversion. And so I've been trying to think of ways for us to do creative things online that are just fun. I mean, they suggested last night we're going to have a meme war. They're going to put up, I'm going to select a topic. They're going to put up the memes. Everybody's going to vote on who likes which meme. We'll keep a point system, run a tournament of best memes. You get extra points if you make it yourself. We've talked about maybe getting a bunch of people together, and Tina might have talked about the sort of doing like a drive-in movie, which sort of is like what Alan was talking about with the Netflix. But everybody just stays in their cars. Doing like a parade, like getting everybody to decorate their cars, and then maybe having a parade through the nursing home parking lot, so that the folks in the nursing home are amused, and everybody gets to get out and do something, but they don't have to get out of their cars. Yep, madness brackets would be fun. Some sort of just things like that are just like ways that we could still do something but not be together. So any of those ideas that folks might have, I mean, we're just trying to I guess from all directions, from a spiritual formation, a community formation, social, all those things. So for what it's worth.
You go ahead.
Yeah, Eden.
I'm interloping on your conversation from the Diocese of Western North Carolina, so thank you. One of the things that I heard about is a game or an app called Sight. It's like headbands, but virtually. And our youth are really into headbands right now. When they're gathering together, they think that's a fun game. In terms of formational pieces, one of the things I was considering was doing a curriculum out of Fuller Seminary called Faith During Anxious Times. And it also has a parenting podcast that goes with it. I've already sent out the parenting podcast in my weekly email just to encourage people to, listen to it. But maybe I was considering maybe doing some type of like virtual youth group and leading that curriculum, just because it felt relevant to where we are now.
Thanks. Addie, did you have something? And then Maggie.
Yeah, Bibbs wanted to share some resources.
Actually, it's me, and I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to stay away from Addie. One thing that our neighborhood is doing, they are putting icons in their windows, and you get certain points when you find one of those on a house, if that makes any sense. And as you're taking your daily walk, which most of ours are, you find those icons and you count how many points you get. But at least that's kind of getting you out and about. And I apologize for being late to the party, but Lesson Plans That Work is a website that has worked well. StoryPath has a book that goes with each scripture lesson. Sermons for Kids, as you probably already know about. There's also, they now have virtual tours of different museums, and I can put that up. And remember, your library parking lots, you can usually get Wi-Fi in your library parking lot if you have parishioners who do not have Wi-Fi.
Thanks. Maggie?
Yeah, this was more sort of to the tune of what Laura was talking about earlier. I saw a post in some Facebook youth leader forum about scavenger hunts in your home. And so you make a list beforehand, and it can be like physical items, but it could also be something you could use to block the rain that's not an umbrella or a raincoat. And so then you have silly stuff, something, an award that you've won, a gift that has really meant something to you, a gift you've given to one of your family members. So you're learning about each other and diverting each other.
Yeah, I was looking at the Goose Chase app. Will actually let you do a video scavenger hunt, and you can come up with your own list, and then you upload it to that site, and it actually will calculate points for you, and it will do everything. So they just have to download the app. So yeah, it's that's a cool thing. And then I'm trying to figure out, I put this on the chat, but it didn't go through, how to do like Mad Libs for video, like let everybody do a little piece and then piece them all together to see what it turns into. So stuff like that. I mean, just trying to come up with that. I like the idea of learning more about each other through indoor. It's good. It's like summer camp rainy day on steroids.
All right. Any other thoughts, or we're almost out of time?
Yeah, some of what we talked about was digital, and I think the non-digital, phone calls, all of that stuff, freeconferencecall.com or .net, one of those allows you to get a free conference call number. I could see for older folks or folks that aren't comfortable with technology, that's a way to provide time. I think Alice at St. Timothy's has done that for some prayer times. I could see that for formation as well. But strictly digital, some of y'all have talked about ways to get meaningful engagement, even asking silly questions. What's the one thing you wish that you had in your house when you're quarantined, or whatever. The more people engage, the more people will see those posts. The way Facebook works their algorithm. If you can ask those questions that get people to respond, even, pick a number 1 through 5 of whatever choices, those types of silly things, it actually helps more people see the things you're posting. And so it has more than just letting people blow off steam and have fun. It actually gets the information to more folks. Hey, Robert, how are you?
I would say, hey, Robert.
Hi.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Any last words? We maybe have time for 1 or 2 more, Alan, if we need be. otherwise, if you, as things come up or you come across stuff, please send it to Caitlin or Alan or myself. We'll be glad to share that on our website so that everybody can have sort of a go-to resource.
Sorry, just real quick. Tina put this in the comments, but the EDUSC Youth Instagram page has been doing Complan every night, and they've been trying to pair like an adult with a with a youth, and so you can do it from 2 different places, which has been cool. And so then like Hannah and I are kind of like curating the people who are doing it. So we like now like, I'm doing it tonight. I think Addie's doing it tomorrow with a youth that's here in Greenville, so they're far apart, which is cool. But then we're gonna ask like one of our youth and their parents to do it too. So like it's a cool way to like engage different people, so not just youth ministers and youth.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting
and I
that
talked
together.
with Caitlin a little bit about that. I would love to see, I mean, I get that that's for youth and for the youth Instagram page. If there's opportunities within that, not all the time, but to use the EDUSC channels that are public and more broad, I would love to figure out like if Caitlin or someone helped lead it from the EDUSC Instagram. And similar, if y'all come up with ways that the youth, DYLC or other organizations can help lead some in this time, you know, being digital folk, like if y'all do some kind of Zoom, you know, worship time, which Caitlin was saying Atlanta did last night, like if there's a youth thing there, we've got tools and resources, and I would love to let them take over some of the EDUSC channels to show folks, number one, that the youth are leading the church now, and number two, just to have fresh voices.
Great. Anything else? Any last words? All right. Well, it's now math time in the Hartley house, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Oh, that does remind me, just from experience, right? My family was out of school for 3 weeks after Hurricane Harvey and lived some of this. Jimmy's saying math time right now. Perhaps some of the best formation that we as Christians can do is help make sure our parents have some tools that they need to help teach kids how to read and write. There is a place for Christian formation and learning the Bible and all of that, but parents at home are trying to do a lot. And so if there's ways that we can support that, if there's ways that we as the church can offer expertise, are there, you know, a math professor in the parish that could do new math and help teach me how to teach my kid, or whatever it is. So I encourage folks to look at formation more broadly, but also we're in this for the long haul. The stats on ministers who work in disaster scenarios, which this would qualify as one, aren't great. For clergy that go through floods, it's something like 33 to 40% of them are not in their same parish within 2 years. And a pretty shocking number of them aren't in ministry anymore after 5 years. So we don't have to do everything this week. We actually don't have to do everything. And so let this be a word of advice, caution, assurance to y'all that we as leaders need time to breathe, just like our families need time to breathe.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Again, as things come up, please share it with Alan, myself, Caitlin. You know, we'll continue to try to organize and do things. You know, get things out as they come about. But any help in that from y'all's expertise and knowledge is greatly appreciated. Well, again, thank you for being on. And if you know that there are 2 more roundtables today, Alan, do you want to just do a quick plug for that?
Yeah, so next up, right after this at 11 o'clock, you can log off, log back on. We'll be talking about online worship, both a chance to troubleshoot and talk about Sundays, what those look like, but then also how we might encourage folks throughout the rest of the week. That's at 11 is worship. At 1 o'clock is pastoral care. What are the ways that we can stay in touch with folks who need, pastoral care for whatever reason, in times when person to person might not be possible? So those are the two we have today. We're working on a stewardship one. Can't share any details because we don't have time or date, but we'll offer stewardship in anxious times. And we're also working on a training for morning prayer. It's designed for those congregations that don't have clergy in place to get someone equipped to lead morning prayer. But I think it could be helpful more broadly for folks who are trying to do things that perhaps we've lost in our tradition a little bit, opening up the prayer book and finding your way around. So those are two that we're working on. If you have thoughts on other ministry areas that we could have these roundtable discussions on, let us know and we'll put something together.
Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you, most of y'all, in about 15 minutes. Otherwise, stay in touch. Be safe. Take care.
Hey, Alan, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, we were just going to say, just Holy Week, as that gets closer, if there was something, if we end up having to go there, something for formation about what that would look like.
Yeah.
We're starting to think that way, but
yeah, if it goes there. I mean, I'm not speaking officially in any capacity, but we need to start thinking about that. I've had conversation with the cathedral about professional video and live streaming of services there, something that's more than cell phones or whatever, that could be a tool for the actual liturgies.
Right.
And so Virginia Seminary is having this week, I think it's Friday, I need to share, they're having some online Holy Week discussions more broadly. If and when we get to that point, we'll have some brainstorming sessions here locally as well. And I imagine some of those questions will come up at the 11 o'clock call that's focused on worship.
Right.
Because how do you wash people's feet when you can't touch each other?
Right. And we were just thinking in terms of formation, like what could one of the ideas that we're working on right now is something off of Build Faith, where it's like a Holy Week in a box. So we're
I've seen that, like Lent in a bag. I've never seen the Holy Week specific, but yeah, that'd be wonderful. And then
we're kind of, we're ordering this stuff in case we end up doing that. And we're thinking about doing like a drive-through where people can pick it up.
Yep.
But that's one thing that's kind of more like children focused. So we were trying to brainstorm about youth and what that could look like. Anyway,
I think that's good thoughts. If and when, sounds like y'all are doing it, if y'all would put down kind of step by step, if you would just write down as you're processing, if it's not too much, I'd love to share that out as a resource with pictures and whatever else you have.
Cool.
There is a resource. I can send it to you.
Oh, perfect. All right. It's already done. So yeah, send me that and we can add that to it too.
Okay. Sure.
All right.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right. Bye, y'all. Take care.